brief background of the story: Second-Class Citizen. The story is about Ada, a young and promising girl of Igbo descent, born into a traditional Igbo family that had more regard for male children. Ada is determined to change the story. She weathers every storm to rise above her peers. Ada has a decent job as a librarian in Lagos. As a child, she had wished to travel to UK, that is the United Kingdom, and return like Nweze, the first citizen of Ubuza to travel to UK and return with a degree in law. However, Ada's age-long dream to become a Binto is bedeviled with trauma and pains. She is compelled by circumstances to marry a man she never loves, Francis. And to actualize our dream, Ada works hard, makes enough money to send her husband Francis to London. I hope for him to study, work, and send money to Ada, or send for Ada to join him in London. Unfortunately, Ada is saddled with wondrous tasks of saving for her husband's education and little children in our dream. Ada finally travels to London and is grossly disappointed and traumatized due largely to racial discrimination from the whites and against the black. But most unfortunately, Ada is treated as a child factory by Francis, her husband, and can be beaten at the slightest chance. Even when Ada tries to write a book, instead of reading the manuscript, Francis burnt it. Second-Class Citizen is based on the background of discrimination. Now, the discrimination is multifaceted. First, there is the inherent discrimination, which is erroneously imposed by tradition. It is the tradition which places premium on the boy child and asserts no value on the girl child. Hence, the birth of a girl child is a thing of sorrow, while that of a boy is greeted with fanfare. Ada realizes this even as she tries to sneak into school at the very risk of being brutally punished by her uncle. Ada, in her self-determination to succeed, struggles through life to acquire education and later gets a job as a librarian in Lagos. Her salary is reasonable. She is soon to be forced into a loveless marriage, and on the day of wedding, they forgot to buy wedding rings, forcing the officiating minister to postpone the wedding. Ada's dream to be the Nweze, the first indigenous lawyer from Ubuza, seems truncated as Ada is asked to drop her dreams of traveling to UK. She is confined to the house to work and produce children for Francis, whom she sponsors to travel to London with the hope that such will pave way for her eventual trip to London. However, she works and saves to travel to London with her two kids, Titi and Vicky. Amidst cold and fragile reception from Francis in London, Ada comes in contact with another form of discrimination, the first imposed by tradition, but this by race. Rights here in London that blacks are denied spaces in school. They are not provided with accommodation, and when they get such, it is in ghetto living in a room apartment with two kids and a nagging husband. Ada strives to make their marriage work. Even in the face of storm and lovelessness, Francis is in relationship with Trudy, who pretends to be fostering his kids. He does not even regret his action, as he thinks that customs permit him to have any woman he so chooses. They are rejected wherever they seek accommodation on grounds of color, sometimes humiliated. In marriage, Ada does not have peace. Francis makes her life unbearable, surviving a cesarean section. Francis does not give Ada any space as she gets pregnant soon afterwards. Going through the trauma of eviction from landlords and rejection from her husband, Ada resorts to writing to prove a point to Francis that she is still viable. Unfortunately, that wonderful brainchild of Ada, the bride prize, which has been commended copiously by Ada's friends, is received with anger and threat by Francis. Ada is alarmed to behold Francis supervising his burning of her manuscript, the bride prize. Let's take a look at Francis. Francis is the most vital or important character in the story. Francis marries Ada as a very inexperienced young man. On the day of their wedding, they forget their wedding ring, hence the wedding is postponed. Ada works hard to send Francis to UK, but when Ada finally joins him, Francis seems to be soured as they disagree on almost every day issue. Francis reminds Ada that being a girl child and a black child reduces one to a second-class citizen status. Francis treats his wife worse than a second-class citizen. Francis takes advantage of sending his children for fostering to sleep with Trudy, the child's minder. Sometimes Francis frowns at the idea of his washing and dressing his children. He is so mean that he beats his wife, Ada, months after her surgery and still goes ahead to impregnate her for attempting birth control. Instead of working out something positive, Francis enjoys going to watch television in the landlord's apartment. Ada once suggests to him to read the manuscript of her prospective novel, The Bride Prize. Francis derides and mocks a mere woman's writing a book. When he discovers the said manuscript, he puts it on fire and supervises the final destruction. All in all, Francis is mean, violent, and loveless, and above all, he does not pass his final examination. Pa Noble. Mr. Noble is one of the characters in the story with very strange attitude. Mystery surrounds his existence. He is one of those clever Nigerians who try to take advantage of the perceived independence to prepare for bigger opportunities. He is from Benin City in Nigeria. It is said that he retired from civil service and used the pension and gratitude money to travel to UK to study law. While in UK, academic failure becomes his companion as he fails all his exams. It is said that the whites simply give him Noble as they cannot recall any name belonging to him. Mr. Noble lives as a jester and a clown. Now, once upon a time, he boasted that he can pull an elevator manually without electricity. Attempting this land him into serious trouble as the lift crashes on his shoulder, leaving him permanently disfigured. However, Pa Noble is hugely compensated and he wins the case in court. He uses the money to acquire property in one of the slum areas. It is the property that Ada and Francis later packed in after one of their evictions and rejection. His wife Sue bears several children. One lesson Noble learns is that he cannot evict tenants who are rent-controlled citizens or rent-controlled tenants, unlike in Nigeria. So, Noble's effort to evict two noisy female tenants throughout the court fails. They have a dog called Kibi. Trudy is a child minder and a foster mother to Ada's children. She is a plump woman with too much makeup. Her attitude leaves much to be desired. She is a prostitute or act like one, as she has several male customers who patronizes her. Francis is one of such. Trudy is indecent as she equally lives in a very dirty environment. Being a registered child minder, Trudy is expected to have a decent environment where the children can play. Unfortunately, her environment is so dirty that the children play in the rubbish heap and unclean water. Besides sleeping around, Trudy is a pathological liar who seems to destroy Ada's presumed myth about whites. For the manifest in negligence, Trudy's certificate as a childminder is withdrawn. Looking at her surrounding, one feels justified that she is stripped of a certificate as a childminder. Trudy is saved from a vicious attack with a carpet sweeper by Ada. Trudy is described as a fat, loose-fleshed woman with dyed hair and pussycat eyes. This confrontation hurts Francis which perhaps justifies Ada's claim that he has been sleeping with Trudy. It takes the intervention of Miss Sterling to get a nursery place in the white suburb for black children who have to pay so dearly for the services. Wow. Janet's story begins at the public phone booth where she has gone to make a call. While people are outside waiting, she is inside clutching the receiver. It takes the courage of Babalola, a Nigerian, who banged several times to awake Janet. She's not making a call, she is sleeping. Pregnant for a nameless West Indian, Janet is not accepted by her stepfather unless she gives away the child. Her mother dies leaving 7 children for her stepfather. Janet, being the oldest, first Babalola entertains Janet along with few friends and soon begin to monopolize her and even warn her not to be liberal with his friends. After the birth of her first child, Janet is pregnant for the second time for Babalola. This coincides with Ada's arrival and acquaintance with Janet. This new relationship turned out to be positive for Ada as Janet becomes a reliable and trustworthy companion. It is Janet who advises Ada on the need to get foster mother as she is bound to face the task of caring for her husband's education, her work, and other contending issues. In all, Janet is a wife, a mother, a friend, a reliable confidant, and above all, a counselor. She never betrays Ada in her travails in the hands of Francis. Pa is one of the minor characters in the story. Ophili is his name and he is the father of Ada, the main character. He is married to Ma, his wife, and Ada's mother. They have 2 children, Ada and the boy. They all lived in Akinwumi Street in Lagos and hail from Ibuza. Pa promises to immortalize his mother. Hence, when Ada is born, she is given names like Nena, Adaeze, and others. He has a broken slate which he uses to sharpen his razor before shaving. He loves education and intends to train his children in spite of cultural position on girl-child education. He desires to fulfill the promise made to his mother before she dies. He is happy that Ada is eager to go to school. He does not live long, however, to realize his daughter's dream. Now for Ma. She is the mother of Ada and boy and the wife of Mr. Ophili. Pa, she is not educated but respects the culture of Ibuza. Like every other traditional woman, she does not place any value on girl-child education. She does not know when Ada sneaks out to attend school, and this negligence land her into trouble as the police compel her to drink garri soaked in cold water beyond her capacity. Pa says that will teach her a lesson not to be negligent. Alright, chapter synopsis, chapter 1. Before the Second World War, Ada is 8 when the story unfolds. Her birth is seen as a great disappointment by the immediate family, her parents, and her tribe, as they expected and predicted a boy. Ada, in spite of being a girl child, begins to nurse a dream. Her dream is boosted by the return of Nweze, an indigene of Ubuza, who returned from UK after graduation as a lawyer. Ada's dream is to be a binto, a dream that is rejected like having a female child in that traditional Ubuza society. Ada is born in Lagos by Ubuza's parents, who always praise the goodness of Ubuza against the misfortune called Lagos. Indeed, the reception given to Nweze by Ibuza women nourished Ada's early childhood dream, especially as she takes boy, her kid brother, to Ladi Lake Institute. Somehow, she finds herself sneaking into classes to learn. On one occasion, Mr. Cole, a Sierra Leonean, assures Ada to continue to come even as her parents, Pa and Ma, are charged for child neglect, an offense that is capable of sending them to prison, or what is called pilizing, based on phonolinguistic interference. Ada's mother is forced to drink watered gari until her eyes began, or eyeballs begin to bulge. Pa only gives Ada some mild strokes of cane to pacify Ma. Ada is presumed to be the reincarnation of Pa's mother, which informs the love and care. Somehow, Ada doubts the efficacy of her good goddess, as strange marriages and invasion are unchallenged by Oboshi. Chapter 2 Synopsis. The death of Pa early in Ada's education dealt a terrible blow. Ada is compelled to change school. First, like an orphan, she inherited the Pa's brother and boys' lives with Pa cousins. Ada's life in her marital uncle's house is full of misery, as almost every member of her uncle's family sees and treats her as a slave. She does all house chores and thus learns to be responsible from her childhood. Ada also dreams of marrying a rich husband so that Ma and Boy could come and stay with her. Not a husband to be seen as a master and served her on bended knees like slave. An incident at school lands Ada seriously in trouble or serious punishment, as she is backed and held by bigger boys while being flogged by the headmaster. In pains, Ada almost chopped off the bitter part or the better part of a boy's flesh, which she spit out. For this, she is accused of cannibalism. In this chapter, Ada's prayer against her cousin Vincent appears to be working, as he fails his Cambridge exams. Much to the satisfaction of Ada, Ada's escape from one domestic hurdle lands her into an unprepared marriage to Francis, who likewise Ada is underaged. Her wedding is postponed because they lack wedding rings, while Nweze rise to fame is because they lack or celebrated. Ada is admired for being prolific even as she loses her mother at 38, as Ada is being delivered of Titi. Francis leaves for London, and later Ada and her two kids, Titi and Vicky, joined.